Ryan got to see me next. He don't want to see me. He don't want to see me, man.
Okay.
I'll let Gervonta handle him first, but Ryan got to see me next. We gonna see about that one. But nah, we're real excited to get back into it. It's your boy G, along with Alec, joined again by our boxing expert, amongst other things, our boy Jake Gold. Glad to have him back on the show. Thank you so much for tuning back in. And we're here to talk about Gervonta and Ryan as they have their big bout coming up this weekend. And very excited to get into it. They've been talking a whole lot. There's been a lot of hype building up to this for a little while now, and very excited to see how this plays out this weekend. So we give a quick preview on that, and then just leave it at that and get out of here. There's a lot of other things going on in sports that we want to make sure we keep our eyes on. So I'm glad to be back. Jake, thanks for joining us. We're on this intro real quick, and then we'll get into it. Real quick before I actually do that, as always, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, share, however you show love. We appreciate it all, and we don't get into it. All right, so we here, man. Oh, wrong picture. Hold on, let me get this right. This picture. This is what I wanted to see. Yeah, excited for this one. Very excited for this one. This is gonna be a great one this weekend. Jake, go ahead and tell me about Gervonta and Ryan. How are you feeling about this fight? Just initial thoughts on these two.
And my initial thoughts are this, man. Like usually, I'm a huge boxing fan, right? Came up as a kid, watching pay-per-views all the time. My family, I got my great grandpa, they were all trainers, and we're on the gym. So I just grew up, really watching the sport, right? And as the fights in the late 80s, 90s made its way more towards pay-per-view, what you saw was the days of like the Sugar Ray Leonards, where they're on the Wheaties box and they're boxing on, TV, in front of millions of people. What boxing did was it went the money route, right?
Yeah.
And so best fights, a lot of them happen on pay-per-view, and, it creates a niche, like a really niche audience, right? Really makes, it's expensive. These fights are expensive to watch. They're very profitable for the fighters themselves. But what it does is, it makes it so with so many other options to watch on TV, it makes it sometimes so the fights, you're like, am I going to really tune in? I don't know. But this leads me to this moment right here, which is, as a boxing fan, for these other big championship fights, not a lot of my friends will hit me up about like, hey, what's going on with this fight between 118-pound fighters, right? Like those fights, I'm not getting hit up about as much, which is fine,
Mm-hmm.
But just about everybody knows me as a boxing fan, and they've been hitting me all up for this kind of fight right here.
Sure.
And that is why I think this fight in particular is so important, because it resonates so much with this generation. You got two young guys, both undefeated, a combined 51-0 record between the both of them, and deciding that, hey, instead of like going this route of where Floyd and Manny fought probably 5-6 years too late and letting the big fight marinate and creating more suspense that way, why don't we just make the fight right now when everybody's asking for it? And I think that's so important, because what it does is it sets an example to where if this fight is the success that it's on pace to be, where we're looking at maybe a live gate revenue generating $21 to $24 million. You got Leonard Ellerbe from Mayweather Promotions talking about that this could be a top 10 gate. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but it's going to make a lot of money. And you got Ryan's got a 9 million Instagram followers, influencers tapped in. Gervonta's got, it seems like, take your pick. Every other like fight he's got, it's Lil Baby, it's some other rapper, right, that's coming out with them. It's like this generation almost feels like this generation's Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather. And go figure, both of these guys are their fighters, where Floyd's like, okay, Gervonta is next. He's the one that's going to carry the future of my fans and the sport of boxing. You saw the talent in Gervonta, and it's very apparent with him. Dynamite southpaw puncher. And then Ryan Garcia has those looks. He's got the appeal. He's got speed. Just very quick hands. And Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions goes, yep, that's our guy. He's going to, when Golden Boy had Canelo, you had, those two leveraging their fan bases off of each other. And it's just leading to this big moment for the sport of boxing where now you have two guys, 28 years old and 23 or 24 years old, I think Ryan is, and just a watershed moment for the sport. And it's just super exciting time. And you go into the barbershop, everyone's talking about this. It's hard to avoid social media. The clips are going viral. These two know how to promote. They know how to use social media. And I think that's exactly what we saw with them betting their fight purses against each other.
I was hyped already leading up to this fight, as you guys can already tell. With them adding more into it, the marketing that you said that's gone into this has definitely been great. And hearing how they continue to talk and go back and forth at each other definitely has been fun. Beyond the big things where they have face-offs and all of that, as you pointed out, with them going on live with Kyson and other guys like that, going and talking their stuff and betting their purses. I don't fully buy what they did. Going on and just talking their stuff. Definitely has been fun and continues to add entry to this fight. And I'm very, very excited to see how this plays. Just continue to talk about how we talked last time we talked a little bit about Jake Paul and that side of things and how that has taken over somewhat. Talk about how I guess real boxing has continued to embrace that and has improved its marketing with fights like this that we see and going forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, fighting is kind of one of those things that's innate to the human desire. Like, we love to watch fights, right? And so you get people with, social cachet, right? People with built-in followings is just going to make people want to watch. And so where some people want to call Ryan an Instagram boxer,
right? Gervonta says Instagram boxer.
Yeah, but he's saying that, but he's also in the buildup. He's very understanding and cognizant of the fact that this guy is legit, and that's why he's been very focused in camp. That's why in the Showtime All Access, he's talked about, I've been watching a lot of Floyd Mayweather, and I've been working on my defense because I don't want to know what it's like to get hit by Ryan. Because the most dangerous punch in boxing is the punch you don't see. And Ryan Garcia has a blinding left hook. Now, that's where Tank says, like, okay, you only got one punch. And, most of those sensational knockouts that Ryan's had, a lot of them have come by the left hand, the lead left hand. A check hook. So interesting in that aspect. But again, to take it back to this whole influencer side of things, these guys are building their brands right through the sport of boxing first and foremost. It's not like Ryan got all these followers because he was, in Gatorade commercials with Damian Lillard. He's in Gatorade commercials with Damian Lillard because he's also a very promising boxing prospect.
Yep.
So these are the types of things where it's like, hey, huge moment for the sport. And then when you look at the actual matchup itself, again, the type of respect that Tank has for Ryan, some people might say, oh yeah, Ryan, defensively lacks, he's not the greatest defensive boxer. Not a lie. It's not a lie. But Ryan is a bigger fighter. And what we saw to get this contract signed between these two fighters was Ryan Garcia was on his way to fighting at 140 pounds. Gervonta would rather campaign at lightweight in boxing, which is 135 pounds. Not that much of a difference, you would think, but there is a big difference. Those 5 pounds really do add up. And so with Ryan heading up to 140 pounds and Tank saying, I want to plant my flag at 135 at lightweight, the really only way that these two were going to agree to fight was, okay, we're going to make this a catch weight. And so the natural distance between 135 and 140 could have been 137 pounds, could have been 138 pounds. They settled on 136, which is closer to the weight class that Gervonta is competing at.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's also a rehydration clause in place. So it's not like it's a Alex Pereira situation where you see him cutting a lot of weight, right? Over in the UFC to make that UFC middleweight limit. And then the next day you're like, this is not the same fighter that weighed in across Izzy. This guy looks like he could be competing at 205.
Right.
And that's exactly where Alex Pereira is going next, is the 205 pound division. So it's an interesting element, and it shows that, okay, Gervonta respects Ryan because he doesn't want him to rehydrate and be the bigger dude because he's fast. He'll have more power and he won't be as weight drained. So you'd think he'd be maybe, more advantages towards Gervonta. But again, this is the thing with boxing. You got A side, B side. While Ryan's the one maybe on Gatorade commercials with 9 million Instagram followers. Tank's the one selling out arenas and pick whatever city you want. Baltimore is hometown, LA. Yeah, he's wherever he's going, he's putting the people in seats. And obviously this fight is going to generate the revenue it is because both of these guys are getting together. But make no mistake, Gervonta is the A side, and he's the favorite for a reason.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot the respect that it appears Gervonta has for Ryan. I think I saw an interview, him getting asked if this was going to be a fight where he was going to leave like his wife and kids at home this time, because I guess for some fights he's like, some aren't, maybe he's not going to get touched as much in the fight, and he's like the family can come, but for this one he was like, I think this is going to be one where I'm gonna have the wife and kid at home. So I think I wholeheartedly agree with you that it seems like he's taken this matchup with Brian Garcia very seriously. He definitely respects the opponent.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And another thing that's worth mentioning as well is Gervonta went up to 140 pounds to fight Mario Barrios. So one of the counter arguments was, wait, so you go up to 140 pounds to fight Mario Barrios for a championship fight, and Mario Barrios is now actually fighting at welterweight, 147 pounds. So that's a guy who's actually bigger than Ryan. So so people will be like, you're telling me, Gervonta, you would go up to 140 to fight Barrios, but you can't go up to 140 to fight Ryan. So so it adds another thing where it's like, okay, yeah, Instagram boxer, yeah, it's a different way he presents himself, Ryan. But that's, the guy can fight. He can fight. He just, to the criticism of many is he leaves that chin up high in the air, and Tank is called Tank for a reason. Guy's got dynamite fists.
You talked, we'll get more X's and O's in a moment, but you talked a little bit about Ryan being somewhat of the Instagram guy, but he still has been successful. Just talk about how, at least from what we've seen and things like this, how does, what I'm trying to say, just is the Instagram stuff, though he actually has success, like he's legit though, like correct? He's a fighter that should be respected, and folks should not question why we're so, I guess, hyped up for this fight, correct?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Ryan is a legit prospect. He's not an Olympian,
Sure.
But not everybody comes from the Olympics. Floyd was an Olympian. Andre Ward was an Olympian. Deontay Wilder was an Olympian. Tyson Fury was not an Olympian. There's everyone goes through their different paths to getting to the top. Ryan's was not the Olympics. Gervonta's was not the Olympics either, but they're both of them had enough amateur fights to get to where they wanted to go. Ryan turned pro at like 17 years old, started fighting in Mexico. Tank turned pro really young as well. So they both got a lot of rounds in them. Championship level rounds, the edge obviously goes to Gervonta.
Right.
And the experience he has, I would say from that aspect, you gotta lean towards Gervonta. But the toughest tests of both of their careers, if you had to like rank them, I would say for Ryan, his toughest fight was Luke Campbell, who was a gold medalist in the Olympics. And that's where Ryan actually got knocked down, was from a shot from Luke Campbell. And that's where people will go, Luke Campbell's not a guy known for his power. If Tank hits you with that, the lights are probably getting shut off.
Yeah.
So there's the difference there. But Luke Campbell, a win over Luke Campbell would have probably been Tank's second best win, or maybe second best win, somewhere around there. So it's not like all of the best wins are coming from Tank, but there are more quality ones. And so like Ryan's, his fight versus Javier Fortuna looked good. That was his most recent fight back in July of last year. Emmanuel Tagot, that was more of a getting back from almost a year and 3 months off. And he had those self-chronicled battles with depression and anxiety. So, a kind of a shake off the ring rust against a guy maybe not known as much. To Tago wasn't really as willing to exchange as other opponents. But again, being fearful of, Ryan's power, obviously, that. And then maybe saying, hey, if I can look good enough, I can preserve some more paychecks. So all that is stuff you got to think about. But then when you look at Gervonta, Hector Luis Garcia, former champion, that was his last fight, TKO. Rolly Romero, I wasn't as impressed with his resume going into the fight. I thought Tank's going to wipe him out. Rolly was big. I mean, he was a much bigger fighter in there.
I remember that
Tank took care of business, though. And we're looking at, like, both these guys. The trend is knockout, knockout, knockout. Okay, unanimous decision, knockout, knockout, knockout. So I'm not expecting this fight to go 12 rounds. But, again, I predicted Izzy to lose. And look at me. What do I know?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I'm glad you did.
But going to that side, at least a little bit, we also recently saw John Jones return to the ring. And Gervonta was with John Jones recently. What could Gervonta possibly learn from John to carry over into this fight?
Look, Gervonta and John, I mean, there's no secret. Both of them have had their issues outside of their respective sports, right?
Sure.
And so the natural talent, though, we know exists with both of them. John obviously having more accomplishments at this point. He's also older. He's been around longer. Tank is, ready to take, those steps to becoming, all right, I win this, I keep going, I'm the face of boxing.
Right.
That's in his mind what he's thinking. And so I just think talking to a guy like John Jones who's made those mistakes, it's important for Tank. Tank's head trainer, Calvin Ford, somebody who's been Tank's mentor his whole life, was his trainer when Tank was, coming up as a kid. Calvin Ford he spent, some years behind bars. So Tank has people who have made mistakes around him that are like, hey, this is not the path you want to go down. So I think, it's not always the best thing to just listen to people who have led a squeaky clean life. Like, what is that? Those people haven't necessarily walked in your shoes.
Exactly.
Tank came from, an upbringing that he'll say, he says it better than anybody else can. Most of his friends, growing up, it's like ones who had promise, a lot of them ended up killed. So wasn't easy for him coming up. And so I think surrounding yourself with people who have made mistakes and you can look to and say, well, I was still able to accomplish these things. It's important for him. And I mean, in general too, like from a popularity aspect, I mean, you saw the picture of Ryan, throwing the body punches on Francis Ngannou. You got right here, John Jones and Gervonta. This was shown in the buildup, right?
Right.
These are both of these guys understanding we're leveraging other combat sports athletes into building our fan bases. And that's huge, man. This is making this a super fight for sure. And it's got that big fight feel.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely love what you said about how he could just learn from I guess the mistakes that John may have made and just how to carry himself, especially as he enters onto this big stage that he's heading onto this weekend. So definitely hope that Gervonta keeps his head right and excited for what's to come with that. Any quick comment from you, Alec, on anything?
Like last comments or
last comment on you.
I was gonna ask kind of jokingly, but anyone got a link for this fight? Because I will not be paying. I will not be paying.
No, that's the point. I will say, while there may be other fights where you might hop on Reddit and find some other stream, this is a fight I'm willing to pay for, and definitely excited for these two, and hope that boxing continues to put super fights like this together. I'm going forward. So I definitely understand what you're saying about that, and there's plenty of jokes to be made. But I think this one is worth every penny. And I think they're going to deliver on Saturday night. So, Jake, what do you think about that? And the whole, I guess there's a subculture of illegal stream, the Redditors, or however you want to describe it, that find other ways to
keep it quiet, keep
watch boxing. I'm not trying to say too much. Don't out the gang like that.
No. Yeah, no, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I've never heard of any streams. No, but really though, the market will tell you, I mean, a lot of times what fans are comfortable with. I mean, it's not like everybody's made of money. It's expensive being a fan, paying for all these pay-per-views. I mean, just the sport of boxing alone. You got the UFC as well. I don't know if you saw the prices for Sunday ticket. I mean,
that was ridiculous.
I mean, it costs a lot to be a sports fan, and then everybody's everybody's getting away. The golden age of streaming is gone. Everybody's saying, okay, see this? Yeah, now we're doing Disney Plus. We're pulling everything off Netflix. We're doing it. So everyone's going to have to make those tough decisions. Mm-hmm. And so, look, it does take money out of people's pockets. But, at the same time, you're asking people to support something. And it's like, well, if I didn't have this, maybe I wouldn't watch at all. So
how much is this one, out of curiosity?
I think this will be an $80 pay-per-view. Okay. And so, yeah, for me, I'm an existing DAZN subscriber. Mm-hmm. So for me, having a DAZN subscription, DAZN is giving up the rights to Showtime to be the sole distributor, like the broadcaster. It's gonna be Showtime broadcasters, but okay. DAZN. I mean, the reason one of the things about this fight being made that's so important, also for the sport of boxing, is it's not like the UFC, right, where mixed martial arts is the sport, but UFC is kind of what the casual fan associates with top level mixed martial arts, and rightfully so. So it's easier to say, hey, this guy's pretty much the best in this division. This guy's pretty much the second best in this division. So if you guys don't fight each other, you're getting stripped of the belt, type of thing. Mm-hmm. Boxing's got more hands in the jar. It's been around, again, 100 years longer than mixed martial arts. So you got Tank is represented by, he's been represented by Floyd Mayweather, Leonard Ellerbe, and the Money Team, Mayweather Promotions, which is, historically had their fights broadcasted through Showtime ever since Floyd left HBO for Showtime. And then Ryan Garcia is with Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, and they've got to deal with DAZN. And those two have, it's like, well, we've invested a lot of money in Ryan Garcia over the years, and we don't want to just give him up and, let him lose and, his stock goes down. And Showtime's like thinking, well, we don't want to we think that DAZN doesn't have the same household credibility as Showtime does. Showtime being linked with CBS, Viacom, Paramount Plus, the whole nine. So, I mean, this really took Ryan Garcia going to his promoter and saying, I don't care what you guys want. The fans want me to fight Tank. And if you guys don't fight, you don't get this fight done with me and Tank, I'm not going to fight at all. So that's where people are like, you got to give props to this kid. Because like, if you want to say what you want to say about him being an Instagram boxer, yada, 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 he wanted this fight. He got this fight. He got it done. And he said, okay, I'm going to 140, but I'm willing to sign off to fight at 136. And, oh, you won't let me rehydrate to a weight that I'm more comfortable at after I make weight on Friday? And then, okay, that's fine. I'm still willing to do this because I want to fight you. Mm-hmm. It's hard not to be like, damn, okay, we got to fight, and I'm ready to support these guys.
What will it take to get more fights like this going forward? Because there was, prior to this, a lot of complaints I saw about not getting the fights that fans wanted. So how can we continue this afterward?
Yeah, I feel like, promoters not being so greedy. Also, maybe with the boxing fans too. The most recent real all-time great that we have, the standard of like the face of boxing that's not professionally boxing right now, is Floyd Mayweather. Right. And what Floyd Mayweather did was his run of being the great that he was done with an unbeaten record. Mm-hmm. And I think in boxing, more so than mixed martial arts, there is like okay, Floyd did it this way. So, I mean, it's hard not to be like, I want to just copy everything he did because he did it well. Why can't I do it too? So there is a little bit of this like, okay, let me protect my unbeaten record as best as I can. If I can still make a lot of money fighting guys I know I can beat, I can do that. Versus, okay, yeah, the boxing fans will watch that. But when are you going to get the casual fans to show up? And that's when you get crossing the street, going to guys who are not in your promoter stable, who are not fighting on the network you are, and saying, hey, maybe we can get together, do a joint pay-per-view like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury did, where that was a collaboration between Fox Sports and ESPN. And then you're getting all throughout FS1 and Fox, they're running ads for the fight. You're getting ESPN, you're getting these guys on First Take. Like that, when you do that kind of stuff, people notice. And that's the type of thing where if one of these guys loses, but they do so with a valiant effort, I mean, really, like, who's going to care? They're going to be happy, like, hey, kudos to him for making this fight. Maybe we can run it back and do it again later.
Exactly. I hear you in that. So hopefully they build off of this fight and guys need to go to the plate and do what they can to continue to produce super fights that we want to continue to enjoy. So yeah, definitely great things here. The last thing, of course, is just the fight itself. We kind of already talked about it, but just to finally end on a prediction, how you have this fight going. We got the stats here lined up. I think I already said how you already see my tag. Tank KO. I got Tank getting it done. Do you agree with that, or you think Ryan can sneak a hook in there some kind of way and catch him?
Look, so I mean, I'm not a guy who's going to tell people like, oh, you should do this with your money or whatnot. But I will say the
last time.
Yeah, the smart play, if you really want to see return for your money, would be to bet on Ryan. That's not necessarily to see like really? Because he's because Gervonta, I don't know what the odds are now, but he opened up as a -280 favorite. So you got to lay down more than you're going to return to see him win against a guy who, in Ryan, well, he hasn't had the same level of caliber competition as Gervonta. This is for my money, this is the best fighter that Gervonta's faced, and not necessarily based off the most accomplished, because Tank knocked out Leo Santa Cruz, who's been a champion across multiple divisions, but Santa Cruz was smaller coming up in weight. Hector Luis Garcia was smaller, he was 130 coming up to 135. Ryan is bigger coming down. So you kind of get what I'm seeing here. So like there is value in betting Ryan Garcia. That said, this is the part where I say but in Alec. This is the but that's coming. The skills that Ryan Garcia has, they'll show up. And for Gervonta, he's a slow starter. Notoriously for his weight class, he doesn't fight with the high output, like where you see guys who are under 140 pounds. They're mostly throwing a lot of punches in bunches. Tank is like, he's sitting back and he's pot shotting, and he's a southpaw. So it's not easy to fight a southpaw. A great southpaw killer is an overhand right, which Ryan can have. But one of the things with Ryan is he gets a little too excited sometimes. He squares up his feet, and when he's throwing, sometimes he'll throw that blinding fast left hook, but the chin comes right up, and the right hand is not always coming up to answer the phone.
Got it.
and if he's not answering the phone with his right hand, all it takes is Gervonta to land one time, and that's what I think was going to happen. I think Gervonta is going to lose some rounds early on, and I think maybe Ryan could drop him. He really couldn't. He could win this fight. But what I think is that just the likeliest scenario is 8-9 rounds in, Tank been patiently waiting, give up some rounds, and it said, I got you, bro. I see it now. And he's a sharp boxing mind. And I think people are, if anybody wants to say, oh, Tank's just a power puncher, you are just foolishly mistaken, or you just don't know yet. And I think Gervonta has an underrated boxing IQ that I think will be put on display with a 9th round knockout of Ryan Garcia.
Okay. They'll learn shortly. I'm with you on that. Very excited for this fight that's coming up. Just love what's going on across boxing and beyond. So definitely agree with you there. Excited for it. Alec, do you agree with that, or you leaning towards Garcia real quick?
Hey, I got no takes. I'm a neutral observer.
But definitely excited to get to this fight. I'll throw this picture up one last time for us. Where you go? This one. Cool.
I'm gonna be on Jake's ass though if he gets it wrong again.
Hey man, if I'm 0-2, you guys gotta. I would love to still keep coming on, but you guys gotta stop asking me for picks, man.
I'll leave out the predictions going forward. But excited to tune into this fight this weekend. Love what's gonna go on between these two, and just excited for what's going on in boxing and beyond. So just again, good stuff going on here. There's a big movie in regards to George Foreman coming out soon that we're gonna come back and talk about at some point as well. Definitely want to have Jake's thoughts on that. But there's a lot of good things going on across sports. We're going to cut off right now as we got to get to, there's more playoff basketball going on and all of that. Just want to go see our Lakers and all and those things. But just wanted to make sure you guys heard our thoughts about what's going to go on this fight this weekend. But again, thank you, Jake, for joining us yet again. Always great time talking with you. Excited for what's to come this weekend. Hopefully predictions right for both of our sakes. I'm running with you. That Tank's going to get it done. And just excited for what's going to go on with sports and here on this show. So thank y'all for tuning in again for the second, third time, wherever it has been. Thank you, Jake, for joining us. And we ain't out here, man. Thank y'all so much. Peace.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir.